I was good buddies with the magician Ricky Jay, and he was a magician. He was a scholar of magic. One of the things I learned from just being a fan of Ricky's was the narrative storytelling of the trick, and realizing, watching him, it's not about what your fingers are doing or where you're drawing their eye per se. It's about the story that they're following and how you use that to keep them engaged. And that's the only misdirection that actually works.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, famed Southern detective Benoit Blanc solves his third case in director Rian Johnson's comedic crime drama, Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. The film finds Blanc teaming up with an earnest young priest to investigate a perfectly impossible crime. When the leader of a small-town church with a dark history dies from seemingly impossible circumstances, Blanc must discover who in the rogues gallery of his congregation committed the crime and how. In addition to Wake Up Dead Man, Johnson's other directorial credits include the feature films Knives Out, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi, Looper, The Brothers Bloom, and Brick, and episodes of the television series Terriers and Breaking Bad. He won the DGA Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Dramatic Series for his 2012 Breaking Bad episode, 51. Following a screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Johnson spoke with director Jon Watts about filming Wake Up Dead Man. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey, John.
I have a lot of questions. I'm going to do my best like James Lipton.
I'm going to pick my favorite curse word.
Your mother was a music teacher. First of all, I would say congratulations. I mean, this movie is incredible. Everyone here just saw it. I've seen it twice now. Both times when it was over, even the second time when I knew what was going to happen, I still had the same feeling when it was finished, which was I felt like the way you feel when you like walk out of a really amazing like magic show. Just this feeling of like, how did he do that? The first time I was like, how did you do it? And then the second time I knew the trick and I still couldn't figure out how you did it. So my first question is going to be that, which is when you're sitting down and you're starting to try to formulate one of these films, like what is the first thing that you do?
Well, and the first thing I do is I thank you, John, for doing this, and thank you guys for being here and seeing it. But then after I do that, the first thing is, well, it starts kind of with it starts with kind of like sort of two free floating elements, sort of, and one of them is. For instance, with this movie, one of them was faith. The idea that I wanted to ground this movie, and so I wanted to make it something personal, and that led me to making it about faith. Just because I grew up very, very Christian. I was not Catholic. I was Protestant evangelical, but up through my early 20s, I was personally very, very Christian. It's how I framed the whole world around me. And I'm not a Christian anymore, and I've got a lot of thoughts about it. So there was that, and then kind of at the same time, I was getting into this author, John Dixon Carr, who we name check in the movie. Who I'm sure if there's a lot of mystery fans out there, you guys are familiar. Anyone who isn't, if you like mystery stories, if you like Christie, you should look him up. He was a contemporary of Christie's and part of the golden age of detective fiction. But he was extraordinary. He specialized in these locked room mysteries, and he also wrote in this kind of Gothic tone, this kind of really delicious, like rich Edgar Allan Poe influenced Gothic tone that this movie owes a lot to. So those two things kind of clicked together in a way, and I realized that specific form of mystery could engage with this idea of faith and the impossible, and kind of they could make each other turn.
And from a totally practical perspective, do you start with the solution and then work backwards? So you have a theme.
Yeah.
Do you have a theme and then the crime and the solution, or do you have your own technique?
Well, one thing that I think I've kind of struck on with these movies is just, but this is something that I have to keep reminding myself when I've written all three of them, is because I love the murder mystery genre so much, and because all of the stuff of that, like the the trappings of that, but the trappings meaning the fun stuff, not like the trappings like the things you can do wrong, but the things you can do right in them. All of that stuff those are all shiny baubles, like the clue gathering and the discovery and the aha moment and the denouement at the end with the detective. And I find for myself, I have to just keep reminding myself all through it that to never mistake the reveal of information for a dramatic turn, and to never mistake a information twist for an actual climax for the audience. And so I actually kind of start with the dramatic structure of it. I figure out who my protagonist is, all just the basic food groups, like what they want, why they can't get it, how are they going to get it or not in a surprising way at the end, all just kind of the basic things. And then I kind of build the murder mystery elements around that, because you need that spine. Otherwise, when you stray from that spine in the writing, you can immediately feel it start to drag, and you can feel that you're just in process and sort of the clue gathering process, and it gets boring very quickly. So that's kind of where I start, is knowing what that arc is, so that I can lash myself to it.
You're definitely drawn to narratively complex films.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Was there a moment when you realized, I'm good at this, I know how to do this?
There was never that moment. No. No, but I have. Yeah, I guess it's true. I mean, I don't know. It's just the sort of story that I am drawn to. I've always I do have kind of a puzzle brain, puzzle solver's brain, and so that is, and there is an element of that. I also, I mean, I don't know. I always, though, I can't say I ever get truly excited just about kind of puzzles for their own sake or intricacy for its own sake. And it's funny. I find in writing more and more these days, and I swear to God, I'm fighting complexity. I'm trying my best to simplify. And every time I get to the end of a process, I'm like, I'm just going to.
Yeah. Are you going to do like a My Dinner with Andre?
Oh my God. I would love to do My Dinner with Andre. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Except My Dinner with Andre, actually quite complex structurally.
Very complicated structure.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll get into the amazing cast in a second, but I do have a question that just sort of ties into the complexity, which is just in the middle of filmmaking, in the middle of the actual process, like how many moments are there where the crew is just completely confused? Like how often are you having, or the cast, like having to remind people and walk people through, or do you feel like they generally get it?
I think, I mean, I hope they generally, I think they generally get it. I mean, the thing is, it's well, I mean, starting with the cast, I guess, because I don't do table reads. I've never found them to be, I know there are directors who love to do them. I've never found them to be interesting or useful for me. What I do, I have some rehearsal time, and I'll get together with the actors either one-on-one or in small groups, and we'll just talk through their scenes in the script and talk through the script generally. And if there's anything that, and sometimes we'll say the words, put it on its feet, but we're never really like rehearsing, trying to make it work. It's more to make sure that they are clear, like you said, about what's happening. But it's also, it's making sure they're clear about the actual dramatic purpose of the scene, as opposed to the 3D chess element of the information. Anytime an actor comes up to me and asks like, okay, but I'm saying this, but I'm thinking this, but this clue is in the background. My instinct is always to guide them away from that and say, if I've done my work in the script, you shouldn't have to worry about that. Just play the dramatic stakes of the scene as honestly as you can, as you feel them on the page, and all the other stuff will kind of work itself out. The crew is probably completely confused, though, but they're not, because we've had all these. The crew. There
must be a learning curve of like.
There is, but also I don't think the crew's trying to figure out the story. I think the crew's just they're trying to make the day, and they're trying to kind of they've got to figure it out in terms of we're doing the dolly move on this one. Yeah.
Why? There always seems like something relevant or topical in your Knives Out films, and you've chosen faith as your big theme for this one. First of all, a little bit more about why faith is obviously very important to you, but why now?
Well, yeah, it's 2025, man. There's definitely, well, although I'll say, so there's the thing that I feel like is the actual answer to why now is actually, it's less about the place of Christianity in the culture right now, or Christianity in the world or in America. It's actually more that I, like I said, I'm not a Christian anymore. And just living my life, I've found myself, and I'll point this inward, I think is very important. I found myself just getting more and more into these little kind of rage cycles of us against them, and
yes,
this putting the walls up, and just even it's just scrolling through my Twitter feed or whatever, and just like and feeling for myself retracting into that place of kind of they're out to get us, and we have to put your dukes up, and finding out, and although there is a lot of stuff right now that we need to fight back against, I also found myself just kind of clenched up all the time. And I found myself reaching back to the stuff when I was a Christian that actually deeply impacted and stuck with me. The stuff that's the hardest stuff about being a Christian, which it comes down to the love your enemy part, and this part that was a big part, along with other stuff that was not so great. That was a big part of my experience when I was a believer. And so I found myself in this moment specifically kind of thirsting for that. And so creating this character of Father Judd, somebody who embodied that in a way that I wanted to kind of live in for a while. That was kind of the here and now of it, I guess.
Well, his relationship with Blanc, you definitely feel you struggling with that, like the two sides of this idea of belief. And I'm curious, like, as you worked through it, did any of your belief or faith changed as you were working through the movie? It's impossible to not go through something as big and complex as making a movie and not end up changing, I think, in a lot of different ways. I didn't convert back to Christianity at the end of it. I think I'm kind of like Blanc at the end of the movie, but I am like Blanc in that I've learned a lot of things. And I mean, like writing that character, Father Judd, like when I first started writing him, it wasn't working. It wasn't clicking. And I realized it's because I was writing him from my perspective right now. And I really had to do that thing that you have to do when you're writing. You have to I had to put myself back and genuinely see the world through the eyes of myself when I was a believer in order to write his genuine perspective. So I thought it was just so well done. I find like very often when people make films about faith, it either is a faith-based film or it has generally something negative to say about people who believe. And I didn't feel that at all.
Oh, that's good.
In fact, like there are moments where there's that very touching moment where he takes the call from Bridget Everett and he closes the door and the sun goes behind the cloud and Blanc is alone and shut off from it and there's no light shining on him. And I wondered if I felt like there's a sadness there of like not being able to have that feeling anymore? Like,
Yeah.
was there any of that sort of connection for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Sorry, this is getting intense.
yeah, I apologize. We can switch back to what was the budget? How many days did you have? Yeah, all the importance. Yeah,
It makes sense that this feels a little confessional. I think it's good.
I think it's good.
It's on brand.
And honestly, you have a priest-like vibe for me, so I like this. You're very comforting. Well, I mean, yes, I feel like there is kind of like a coldness and a sadness when Blanc is locked out of that moment, although I don't think he quite understands it yet in that moment. He knows that he's apart from something, but he doesn't really come to understand it until his arc kind of completes near the end, when he has his road to Damascus moment and realizes what he has to do. That's when he finally kind of groks what just happened with Father Judd. But for me, yeah, that moment was a little bit of just, I don't know. Yeah, it felt like a genuine emotional moment. I don't want to just phrase it in a meta way, but it was also kind of, getting out of my head of all the little puzzles and all this clever stuff and just
It would be nice to just believe.
Hold on a sec. Yeah, let's just stop and address a human need that's right in front of you. And that came out of some research I did with some priests, actually, that moment. That was, because I wasn't Catholic, I had to learn some stuff about Catholicism. And so my aunt and uncle, who I'm very close to, who are devoutly Catholic, live in Denver. I went out to their place. They were really gracious. They invited their priest and like 6 other young American priests from the Denver area. And we had a big priest dinner. And like not in the Sweeney Todd sense, but we had a great dinner. We drank a lot of wine and had the big Ask Me Anything thing. And one of the things that came out of that was just that when they go out, even just do their grocery shopping, they're always like wearing the collar. And that means they're always of service and on stage. And so they can just be trying to go about their day and do an errand, and someone can come up and start sobbing to them, or someone will come up and start screaming at them and getting in their face. And the notion that at any moment just human need can collide with, with the process of the day. Yeah, I don't know. That was really beautiful to me.
And Bridget Everett is so good. And
oh my God, Bridget Everett.
To just show up and have that one cameo and just absolutely
she
devastating.
Was so awesome. I'm such a big fan of hers. And if anyone here hasn't seen her TV show, please look it up. It's really special. And she's a really, really, really special artist. Yeah.
Just one of, again, another amazing ensemble that you've put together for this film. And I wonder, when you're writing, do you write with any specific actors in mind?
I try not to, because I think it's kind of a pathway to heartbreak, because then if you write with them in mind, you don't get them, then you're upset. But I no. So yeah. And also I feel like there's the whole thing of, well, then what are you actually writing to? You're writing to another character they played. That's not, so I almost feel like it's more exciting to me, like with Andrew Scott in this movie, writing what was supposed to be kind of like a manosphere kind of absorbed sci-fi writer. I have no idea how Andrew Scott would play that. So, but I know he's such a great actor. Let's throw him in that and see how it plays.
He gets to be so funny.
Which he well
to do it.
Andrew, so man, yeah. Do you really quick? Do you write with actors in mind when you're writing?
No, I don't. I think closer to. I usually put a real person or like
a real
someone,
person, Yeah, I did that too.
Or a version of a person that I know.
Right.
Because then it's always better, because then you got a movie star to be there.
This is true.
It's better than being your high school chemistry teacher. What put Josh O'Connor on your radar?
Daniel Craig, actually. So we were casting this movie before Challengers came out. So I had seen The Crown and I remember him being good in it, but I wasn't really aware of him as like somebody who is special. And so Daniel was like, you got to take a look at this guy. And so I screened Challengers and I was just like, oh my God, Daniel Craig is right. And then I watched La Chimera and saw him give this beautiful, sensitive performance that was so different from Challengers, but felt equally as amazing and true. And so then I met with him. I was just like, oh, okay, we have to try and get him. Yeah.
It's hard to think of it being anyone else. He's so absolutely perfect. It's hard to not think that you just
He's really
created
special.
it for him.
Yeah, we lucked out, man. He's really, really, really special. And I'm excited to see. I don't know. I'm excited for him to take a little break. I think he's done like 18 movies over the past year. Yeah. He can go and he needs a little break to work in his garden and in the fields of England right now. But then I'm excited to see what he does next. Yeah.
Your filmmaking is so precise, and the story, for it to work, like inevitably has to work like clockwork. So I'm curious, when you have all these great actors, how do you? The performances are also so very alive and so very real and full of heart and spirit. How do you balance the precision that is like necessary in the screenplay and in the filmmaking, and the ability for them to, as their improvisation, do you create opportunities for people to? I can't imagine you can really go off script in this, because then the whole train derails.
Yeah, I mean but at the same time, I'm aware it's important to me that they do feel the freedom to kind of bring it to life, and we do make lots of adjustments on the day, and we do. I mean, it's not like we have like curb level improv where they just riff or something, but there will be moments that'll come up, or I'll get excited about.
You literally say "Curb Your Enthusiasm" in the movie.
I do. I name check. Yeah, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Star Wars, all the great icons of culture. And so we do play a lot on set, and we riff, and I've that's one thing that, especially having had the experience now of working with, and that's, I mean, for me, I feel like I'm really getting away with something with making these movies, because I get to just have these experiences with big casts of the best actors in the world. I learn so much every single time from every one of them. And that's, for me, just watching these groups and just realizing, it's kind of like a rocket ship strapped to your back if you let them explore and let them play. And they're all also, I mean, they're also such good actors. And when we sit down beforehand and do like our little rehearsal thing, they know the intent of the scene. They know what's important. And generally they like what's there. It's just a matter of if there's anything that can, make it feel more alive, we go for it.
Does some of that come out during that initial rehearsal process?
We will. I'll do a lot of, because I write really structurally. I spend the first 80% of the process writing in notebooks and outlining. And so typing the words is the very last thing I do. And I think that makes me less precious about the words. So I never care if during rehearsal or on set or whatever, if there's a funnier way of saying it, or this line goes or that. I'm constantly marking up the script and giving them changes. Yeah.
That's great. Do you have a specific example from this that you can think of? This was mostly in prep as opposed to on set, but the first scene where Josh and Daniel meet in the church, that was written as a much softer scene in terms of when Blanc first unloads on Father Judd. That was originally a little bit more kind of circumspect, a little bit more sort of gentle in terms of his opposition to the church. And Daniel, when he read it, he was like, I think Blanc should go hard at this. And at first I kind of leaned back from that, because I had done so much work to kind of try and balance it so that it was human towards everyone. I'm like, if we just do kind of like a rant. But then we kept talking, and I realized he was absolutely right, because these are two guys who you're going to end up going on this journey together. And by the end of it, they both learn something from each other. And the stronger you set them in opposition to each other at the beginning, the more satisfying that journey is going to be. And the fact that at the end of the movie, they're still on opposite sides of that fence, but they've come to, I keep having the bit from Three Amigos in my head. It's like, you meet Cochise, you think he's a terrible guy, you fight, and by the end of the movie, you come to respect one another. Yeah, it's the Three Amigos. Yeah, you did it. Great job.
I did it, man. We did it.
I would say this is a lighting movie. There's some lighting.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I like how the light is coming in and out of cloud cover throughout the movie. Before you even start really drawing attention to it, it's just moving in and out. As a kid, I remember that happening and wondering if anyone else could tell.
Well, it's funny because we both grew up in Colorado, and yeah, the clouds move fast there.
Yeah, so it's like direct sunlight, and then suddenly you don't have a shadow, and then suddenly you do have a shadow. And I would always look around as a little kid, being like, "Is someone going to do something about this? Like, what's happening?" So yeah, I'm curious. Like, what was your collaboration with your long-term DP, Steve Yedlin, like on this one?
We are an old married couple at this point, and I love it. Steve Yedlin and I, who shot all my movies, we've been best friends since we were 17. But this was the first, and I like that. Yeah, I think it's true that this is a lighting movie. It really is, and I'm so proud of Steve and his work in this. But that was the first conversation we had was. And I referenced exactly growing up in Colorado. I referenced that thing of when that light change happens in a room, what it does emotionally to the conversation in the room. And it's something you don't see in movies very much. So I talked to him about...
All you're ever trying to do is keep the light consistent so it's not changing from shot to shot, but to embrace the change.
Which is probably smarter. It's probably a reason people do that. But what we did was, because the interior of the church was a set. It was this gorgeous set that Rick Heinrich, our production designer, had built with his team. And it was a 360-degree set. So Steve did all this work in prep where he pre-rigged all the lights. But more than that, he programmed a light control system of his own so that we could basically sit at his laptop and play the lighting cues like music. And that meant that we could...
so you could adjust the timing if the scene is playing at a
we were hitting triggers, yeah. So it's cool. It's not a slider based thing, it's a node based thing. And so and we could adjust every element of it. So which was great because it meant we could actually the actors didn't have to worry about it. They could just play the scene. We could see how the scene played, and then we on the spot could map out what the changes were going to be, and we could repeat them exactly based on, So yeah, and I just kept trying to push and push and push in terms of how theatrical we got with those changes, and we ended up having a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
And then it becomes a big story element too. So it's not just texture; it actually becomes builds up to your road to Damascus.
Yeah, but yeah, that with the God rays and everything. Yeah, that was fun.
Do you still storyboard every frame?
I did for this one. It's the first one in a while that I have. But then, because you're a storyboarder too, right? Yeah, but you show up on set, and for me, the storyboard is almost just like having a net. It's also in these movies specifically a little bit more about blocking than it is about shots. It's so that I have a moment in prep to kind of pre-plan and think, okay, what's everyone's relation to each other in the room? Because if I walked onto that set with those movie stars staring at me and had no idea, I would
At
panic.
least I can do what I storyboarded.
Yeah, I can fall back on that, and then a lot of times you do, and then you have the freedom to adjust it, and but for whatever reason on this one I did storyboard everything.
And the town is essentially built from scratch.
Well, the church is all the interiors are
all the
interiors are the exterior of the church we shot outside of London. We shot in London, so the interior of the church was a set. The interior of the rectory, the coziest room in the world, was a set. Interior of the pizza thing, the cop station, basically every single interior was a set. But then all the exteriors were combinations of spots that we found in and around London, and a beautiful old stone church, which is technically a couple hundred years older than it should be if it's in New York. But the exterior of that in London, and then we did a little bit of second unit work up in the Hudson River Valley in a small town to get the street scene stuff.
How much for people on their second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth viewing? How much of the mystery is hidden in the background? We play very fair. I think it's important to play really fair, but I do think it's important to play fair for the second and repeat viewings. And I think, I guess for me, it's the notion of the mystery element and a puzzle of like misdirecting the audience, or the idea of like a card trick misdirecting the audience, or having, planting clues here and there or in plain sight or whatever. I was good buddies with the magician Ricky Jay, and he was a magician. He was a scholar of magic. One of the things I learned from just being a fan of Ricky's
was, he was one of the best in the world at sleight of hand, but there were people in the world who were better at the sleights than he was. What his superpower was that he was better than anybody at was the narrative storytelling of the trick. And realizing, watching him, it's not about what your fingers are doing or where you're drawing their eye per se. It's about the story that they're following and how you use that to keep them engaged. And that's the only misdirection that actually works. So in terms of stuff happening in the background and everything, I think you can be quite plain and bold with that if you're truly misdirecting the audience by entertaining them. And that's always my approach to all the scenes in the murder mystery.
Do you hope Bono sees the film?
I hope he does. That'll be fun. Although he'll probably get upset that I didn't actually use his song. And it's a Wake Up Dead Man is a U2 song off a underappreciated album, Pop.
Great album.
But I ended up using it. There's that Tom Waits song at the end that was too perfect.
Yeah, he was waiting for it.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm not going to try and do Bono's accent.
Feels like it's totally up his alley. It seems like, do you know if Tom York has seen Knives Out?
I think he has. Yeah, I do. Cause I know Nigel Godrich a little bit, and so I think he's seen it. Yeah,
this is really the reason why you make these films.
This is it.
Slowly trying to ingratiate yourself with huge rock stars.
Has Paul McCartney seen Glass Onion?
Let's find out.
We paid him enough for the song, so I hope he's. He should. No, he deserves every cent, yes. Sir Paul. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our time. Thank you, Ryan.
John, thanks so much. Thank you guys again. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America.